All right, on to chapter 5. You remember that chapters 5 and 6 are about measurement. Before we start talking about policy, fiscal policy, monetary policy, philosophies, right, theories, you have to be able to kind of keep score. It doesn't always lead to a clear winner when you have people arguing. I was reading the Krugman blog today, this morning at New York Times, and he's criticizing Ben Bernanke. Ben Bernanke was it yesterday? Yeah. He had a press conference. It was the first press conference ever given by the chair of the Federal Reserve in this country.
First ever.
Yeah, you've never had a press conference. They appear before Congress on a regular basis to give updates, they take questions, but like having the media there, almost like you're the president, it's never happened. So he was asked about some of his policies. He explained, why they're doing what they're doing, what they expect, and Krugman is from a different philosophical bent for the most part. He's a Nobel Prize winning economist, won it a couple of years ago, and he was disagreeing, right? But you can't start to have a good argument until you know how to measure things, okay? So that's what these chapters are about. Chapter 5 talks about prices and unemployment. So you'll remember that prices could go up or down. Don't forget that. There's inflation. We talk a lot about inflation. There's also such a thing as deflation. Prices decline. And something that Krugman talked about today in his article. But what are the ways that you measure inflation or deflation? One is the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Another one is the PPI, Producer Price Index. Another one is the Real GDP Deflator. The only one you need to know how to calculate is the CPI, right? Where you have a market basket of goods, which is somewhat fictional too. You're supposed to take a sample. The government samples stuff that most people would have in their market basket, and they track those prices month to month to see if prices are rising, falling, or staying the same, right? If you're talking about the Producer Price Index, it's a similar concept. They're not tracking prices for consumers, for households, tracking it for sellers, producers, business owners. So remember, you have to know how to do some calculations regarding the CPI. You need to know how to calculate the CPI, right? If you're given a problem where it says, for this year, the average person in their market basket would have 5 shoes, 3 books, and 8 socks. No, 8 loaves of brown bread. I just had Tedessa, Black Gold Tedessa Mescilla, Yulia's dad. He just stayed with me the last day. Every time he comes, because he's got diabetes, we have to have brown bread. That's always in his market basket. So let's say you have that. You have to multiply it by the prices to figure out what the total expenditures were for that year. And then you divide that by an earlier base year. Remember, the base year is equal to 100. Whatever year they say. This country, they set the base year at 1983. It's an arbitrary thing. Okay?
The one from today's edition? The CPI base from today's edition, sir?
The actual real base in our country, 1983. 82, 83.
Is there a reason for that?
I can't recall the reason.
And it's always 100, you said?
What's that?
It's always 100?
Base year is always 100. So I think I've got some notes down here about how to do calculations. Right? Calculating the CPI, I'm not going to go through that. It's in your book. It's easy. Okay? Secondly, once you know what the CPI is, you can look at some other kinds of calculations, right? Like the percentage increase in prices for the CPI over a period of time. That's also easy. Because it's the same calculation of percentage increase you had to do in basic math. I mean, it's maybe algebra. The percentage increase in anything is the new number minus the old number over the old number times 100, right? Whether it's the percentage increase or decrease in Jamie's goal scoring in soccer, right? We scored 10 goals last year and 12 goals this year. To figure out what the percentage increase was, you do 12 minus 10 over 10 times 100. It's the same thing with the CPI. The CPI is 250 one year, and in a previous year, not the base year would be 100. Let's say the previous year was 220, you do 250 minus 220 over 220 times 100. Right? That's how you do percentage increase. Now, we talk a lot in this class about the difference between nominal and real. Right? Nominal is just a number. Real is more significant. If you say that incomes went up, but a piece of that number is inflation, then that's a little bit misleading. You want to know not nominal income, but real income. You don't want to know so much nominal GDP, but real GDP. You don't care as much about nominal interest rates, but real interest rates. For all of these things, you factor out inflation one way or another. So you can compare apples to apples, all right? If we're talking